July 21st, 2016. A man walks into an Oxfam charity shop in Nottingham, England, in the hopes of finding any interesting items to bring home with him. As he looks around, he comes across a copy of an EP from the year 2000, released independently by a band named Panchiko. Out of curiosity, he pulls out his phone and looks up the name of the band. No results. He tries typing out the name of the project, Deathmetal, along with the band name. Again, no results. Upon realizing that he's likely got his hands on a rare piece of music, he buys the CD and brings it home with him. He plays the EP on his CD player only to hear this. The music was clearly plagued by disc rot, and there was a lot of noise on top of the music, but it was interesting nonetheless, and the music was surprisingly great. It didn't sound at all as he expected, as the title clearly suggested that it would sound far more hardcore. Turns out that the music would more closely resemble late 1990s shoegaze or early 2000s lo-fi music. The intro track also contained sample chops, an unusual component for that type of music. Eager to find out more about this EP, he posts a picture of the album cover on 4chan in hopes that someone out there will recognize it. Hey, I picked this up because it looked interesting. I wasn't able to find any references to it online whatsoever. Even with super obscure bands, you might expect to find an old MySpace page or mention in some forum. Does anybody recognize the album? People were quick to ask for audio files of the CD so that they could listen to it themselves. The original poster obliged and handed out a link containing the EP. A few days go by and people were quick to acknowledge the noise panning back and forth throughout the EP. But as they listened through it, they were shocked to discover that the music in and of itself sounded remarkably great. Some people speculated that the disc rot noise was intentional, while others were convinced that the noise did not belong there. A suggestion was made to find the members of the band in hopes of getting a digital re-release without the disc rot of some sort. The only problem was that on the back of the CD cover, only the first names of the band members were listed. Owain, Andy, Sean, and John. 3 years later, in 2019, the EP was re-uploaded to YouTube and quickly garnered hundreds of thousands of views, sparking brand new interest in the band. From this very day, a global inner search began. 1,000 people came together to find new information about this band, possibly get their hands on a remaster, and finally find the band members. Because 3 of these first names listed on the back of the CD were super common names in England, they were near impossible to work with. However, the name Owain was just obscure enough for them to try and locate this band member, who was also credited as a lead singer of the band. Less than a year later, January 2020, the searchers discovered a way to locate the exact Oxfam shop where the EP was first purchased that day in 2016. In Nottingham, in a street called Sherwood. It didn't take long before an Owain was found in that area. Owain woke up to a strange Facebook message on his phone. He hadn't used his Facebook account for ages, so he checks it. "Are you the lead singer of Panchiko?" He almost didn't answer it. He hadn't even thought about his old high school band for years, especially considering they only ever made 20 copies, which for the most part was for friends and family as well as some record labels. The message explained further that a group of fans had been searching for the long-lost band behind the Deathmetal EP, and that they would love to get their hands on a new clean copy without the noise. He realized that this was no joke and it was time to reconnect with some old friends. He contacts Andy, the guitarist and keyboardist, who was also in Korea at the time, and sends him a link to the community behind the search. They went on to contact the bassist Sean. Upon listening back to their own long-forgotten EP for the first time in 20 years, they were pleasantly surprised. They had all lost touch with their drummer, John, many years ago, who to this day remains completely unknown to both the band members and their fans. They hadn't spoken to him since just after they recorded their second EP, Kicking Cars, back in 2001. which was never released. Only a few weeks after those sessions back then, the band had gone their separate ways and John was never seen again. After the band came back together, an effort was made to restore the damaged EP from 2000. While Owain and Sean had jobs not related to music at all, Andy worked as a mastering engineer. Mastering being the final stage of audio and music production in which the mix is finished and made ready for distribution. After finding their long-lost files, as well as their unreleased Kicking Cars EP, they re-released both EPs as a whole album on streaming, the album Deathmetal. During the recovering process, Andy commented on how he thought the disc rot was what made the project special in today's world. The feeling of listening to a long-forgotten EP found in some corner shop was, in his words, what made it charming. What I find interesting is, after listening to many videos on YouTube about the EP, I feel like the degradation of the CD is part of the music now. It is a part of why people enjoy the music, and whilst I try to look for an original copy, I feel like it may take something away from what people found in the music. Maybe it's best left how people found it. As this interesting, half-destroyed piece of music from a far-gone era, I think it's what makes it charming today. And that's what people should hold on to and enjoy about the CD. Ever since the project was remastered, the band has been met with nothing but positive feedback from fans and critics alike, and the story of the band made waves across the internet. Today the band has 800,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, where their album has been streamed over 40 million times. Following their enormous success, the band has released their second album, Failed at Maths, and is currently touring across Europe. They decided to include the half-destroyed EP from the original CD as the final 4 songs of the re-release of the album, as a reminder of how their music was in a way struggling to be remembered, as it was played for the first time in 16 years, just 7 years ago.